Hello everyone, I am Dr. Swami Haridasanand and I want to wish everybody a happy Navratri. Today we celebrate Maa Shakti. Maa Shakti that formed this universe, that protects this universe. The Ma that we've all come from, who has come at this time in the form of Guru Maa Ashutoshamvari. This special occasion, because in this Navratri, Ma is in a state of deep samadhi, of nirbij samadhi. And for many of you, you may not be aware of what Navratri is. So in this video, I'll explain what Navratri is, why it's such an important festival, why it needs to be celebrated, and its spiritual message that the world is only just starting to understand. So, Navratri means 9 days or 9 nights. 9 nights to celebrate the 9 attributes, the 9 forms that Maa Shakti, Maa Parmeshwari has come in. And the story goes that Brahma, the creator, the generator, when he was to make the universe, he called on Maa Shakti. He called on Maa Shakti to guide him, to give him the ability to create the universe. First, he called on Shailaputri. Shailaputri is known as the daughter of the mountain. It represents the time when there was the forming of land, of mountains, of crust, of the earth. Shailaputri also has a spiritual representation. It represents this body. Because any disciple goes through 9 stages in their path towards God. And the first is they obtain this human body. This human body that is the only means by which you can obtain God. This human body, which is a temple of the living God. This human body, which all the spiritual texts talk about. It's said in the Ramcharitmanas, Paribhag Manushtan Baba, Surdurlabh Sabgrantan Gaba. That all spiritual texts explain how mahan, how great this human body is. So the first is the celebration of this human body that we have been so fortunate to receive. Because in this human body, we can reach God, we can obtain God, we can free ourselves of the cycle of life and death. The second night represents Brahmacharya. Now, Brahmacharya is representation of Brahm, of Brahm Gyan, of that divine knowledge that was put into every particle, has that vibration, has that divine knowledge. This is why when you look at the photo of Brahmacharya, she is floating on air. She does not have an animal to sit upon. She floats in air because she is everywhere. She is ethereal. She is representation of spirituality, of the divine. Then third comes Jandagant. She represents sound, a vibration. That in every pore, in every area there is a sound, a vibration. She is what brought vibration and sound into the universe. That vibration and sound in a spiritual context for a disciple is when we connect with God. We can hear God and see God and feel his vibration everywhere. Fourth is Kushmanda. Kushmanda appears on a tiger. And she represents that the universe was bounded into this egg. She represents the energy that goes into seeing, to seeing God in everything, in everywhere. As a disciple should see God in every person, in every item, in every object, because God is everywhere. And a disciple, when going on the spiritual path, is able to see God in everything. Next comes Skandamata. Skandamata is representation of new qualities, of motherhood. She sits on a lion, and she represents a disciple gaining new spiritual qualities, gaining calmness. She represents a disciple going on the spiritual path and becoming more in tune with those good spiritual qualities. Next comes Gatyani. Gatyani represents us being able to see our negative virtues. Human beings do not want to see their negativities. They do not want to see their bad qualities. But a sadhak, a disciple, when they go on this path of spirituality, has to see their negative qualities. They have to be aware of the bad qualities so that they can then destroy them. Kabir Das says, Bura to dekhan main chala, bura na milya koi. Jab khoja dil apna, mujhse bura na koi. That when I went out looking for sinners, I found none. But when I looked within myself, I realized I was the most sinful. This is an important stage in a disciple's progress, is when they look inwards, see their negative qualities, see their negative traits, and then work on destroying those qualities, destroying those negative traits. The next stage is Kalachi. Now Kalachi sits on a donkey, and she represents the destruction, complete annihilation of those bad qualities. That now you've observed those bad qualities, you've observed those bad habits and natures, and you can now destroy them, which helps us ascend, because once all those bad qualities are destroyed and those good divine qualities are being brought forward, then we are growing on this. Next comes Mahagauri. Mahagauri represents this path of renunciation, this path of tapasya. She represents a disciple dedicating themselves on this path, represents a disciple going on this path, fully committed and giving up worldly desires, worldly possessions, worldly thought, and focusing on the Almighty, focusing on God. And the ninth, the final day, is Siddharthi, who sits on a lotus. She represents bliss. She represents the fruits of this path of devotion. She represents the powers, the calmness, the happiness, the bliss that we attain as we go on this path, as we connect with God. So as you can see that Navratri, which is celebrated in an outward way, celebrated, connected to the formation and the creation of the universe, has a deeper spiritual level, which represents a disciple's connection with God and the path that we go on to our connection with God. This is true for all festivals, because all festivals in their true earnest meanings represent a spiritual message. They give a spiritual message to each and every one of us, that each and every one of us needs to connect with God. Each of us needs to receive this divine knowledge. And we are fortunate now that we have Guru Shri Maa Ashutoshamvari here, that divine mother, to guide us on this path, to connect us again, to give us those qualities that Brahma asked to create the universe, that we can also ask for those qualities so that we can become true disciples, that we can obtain that bliss, that happiness, that peace that we can never receive in the world, that only that divine mother can give to us. So to my brothers and sisters, a happy Navratri, and I hope that you recognize that this day and this 9 coming days are days of celebration and days that we should look inwards and ask, can we connect with God? Can we go on that path? And can we become truly happy and fulfill the purpose that we were given this human body for? Here I will rest my words. and again wish all of you a happy Navratri. Bole Maa Ashutoshamvari ji ki jai, Baba Ashutoshamvari ji Maharaj ki jai, Ashutosh Bhagwan ki jai.